All right, this is our test lesson on videotaping and doing the flipped classroom. So we're going to spend a little time today talking about disease transmission. And so in order to talk about that, we're going to set up a little diagram here to show you the different ways diseases are transmitted, and so we can share this information with the world. So disease transmission, we know that there are 6 different ways that we transmit diseases. Okay, so we're going to talk about each of those and a little bit of how they're transmitted and some examples of that type of transmission. So we'll start off probably with the most straightforward, and that would be this one here, what we call the droplet. And as the name implies, droplets like liquid water, that would be something like a sneeze or a cough. Okay, so droplets would be somebody sneezing on you. There's bacteria, viruses in the sneeze and the droplets that you inhale and they get into your body. Okay, we also see here, this one, the next one, is what's called airborne. Now it sounds a little bit like the other one, but in the case of airborne would be something like something on a dust particle. Okay, so this would be what we find in dust. Okay. The most nasty one, probably, as you can, as we look at all of these, is one called fecal oral. So there you look at the name and you can see fecal oral, gross. But this would be something where your contaminated feces ends up connecting with the mouth. So an example of where this would be contaminated food. Okay, things like E. coli and salmonella might be an example of fecal oral contamination. Okay, the next one that we see over here is what's called vector. Vector, another word for vector would be animals. Okay, so animal diseases, that would be things like rats and cockroaches, because they're very nasty. Even dogs. We talk about rabies. And of course the other diseases that we find, probably one of the more common ones here in Asia would be mosquitoes. So that would be anything like dengue fever, malaria, West Nile virus, some of these other yellow fever, all examples of these. Okay, and the last two, of course, here we see direct. Okay, direct meaning exactly that, direct contact, and that would be kissing, touching, things like that. And then, of course, the last one would be indirect, and that would be where you maybe touch a contaminated surface, and that contaminated surface then has bacteria or viruses on it, and then you can get that somehow into your skin, ingest it into your body through your mouth or your nose. So these are the different ways that we will or could potentially pass on disease. And in a lot of these, of course, the most effective way to not get any of these is to keep your hands clean, keep your food clean, and when you do get sick, just stay away from other people. So this is 6 ways that we transmit diseases from one person to the other.